This is Danielle
and Vida.
So we are here talking about all of the things that we're going to be doing on the Disney trip. And yes, we're talking about this again because it is so important to really dive in and go through all of the things we're going to be offering to the coaching community, therapist community, teacher community. If you work with neurodivergence, this trip could very well be a thing for you, and it's combined with Disney World. So lots of learning, lots of frameworks, lots of training to do, but we're doing it in the most neurodivergent way ever and doing it in Disney World, of course. So business right off. So I just want to get that out of the way right away. This can be a business. A trip to Disney World is an absolute acceptable business write-off when you combine it with training, which is what we're doing here to make it as fun as possible, relaxing as possible, and jam-packed with as much learning as possible.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people have conventions like in Vegas and, and
Nashville and in Disney. So here's the list of things that we're going to be training people on. So if you are neurodivergent and you want to learn to live life in less overwhelm, this is for you as well. If you're a therapist working with neurodivergence and you haven't, okay, as somebody who's gone through college and university and has my degree and all of that, everything you learned is not very applicable to ADHD adults or autistic adults. So this is going to fill in some of those gaps for you. And if you want to pick our brains the whole entire time and follow us around and we can info dump on you for 3 days straight, I'm happy to, because to get the therapy community to actually listen so that we as coaches have somebody to refer our clients to would be amazing. There are so few therapists that are neurodivergent friendly, accommodating, accept it. It's very frustrating as a coach to know that therapists and coaches offer very different things, but yet so few therapists actually take the time to learn and dive into learning how they can help a neurodivergent adult. So this is for all of those things. So we're going to teach you how to use Disney science in real life. And you're like, well, this sounds dumb. How much have you learned now that you and I have been hyper-focusing on this for over a month now? How much have you learned to apply just learning Disney science stuff so far?
Well, I mean, so there was some of it that I already knew. And then like when I went to Epcot and, like they have the really cool like hydroponics like ride where they talk about farming and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, why does Disney have this? What are they doing with this? And because they're all super nerds and they want to know all the things. So sometimes they make attractions specifically for that. And if you ever watch any of the documentaries that are like behind the scenes of Disney, they are big on efficiency, packaging, working with people. They're trying to elicit specific behavioral responses from people. And there is a lot of neuroscience that goes into it. So, of course, as neurodivergent individuals, when we deep dove into this, like, I don't think we've come up for air yet because it's just so fascinating.
Every sound, every touch, every visual is built for maximum efficiency of a brain. And their favorite brains at Disney World are neurodivergent brains. Disney is catered to neurodivergent brains, not the neurotypicals. The neurotypicals walking around Disney World are like, I can't believe I just spent this much money on this. Why is my wife making me do this? Why is my husband dressing up? I mean, you can spot, as a neurodivergent, I can spot the other fellow neurodivergents in Disney World, and I can spot their neurotypical spouses, like from a mile away. And which means all neurodivergent things are also built for a child's brain, because all children's brain, I swear to you, all children are neurodivergent, at least to some sort of level. Our actual neurodivergent children are very different than a normal child, but every child is wired for sound and sight and touch. But as
that's because, kids are not taught to repress that. That's just like, oh yeah, that's completely acceptable to interact with your environment in that way because you're children. But then at some point it's like, oh, that's childish. You need to stop that. And so for neurodivergent adults, that's where high level masking comes in.
So we're going to take all of the things that we've learned about Disney science and show you how to use that in your real life. Now, I went in December, and of course I geek out about Disney stuff way before that, but I went in December again as an adult. Well, I was an adult last time I went to, but I had a child with me then, and having a child in Disney World is very different than getting to attend as an adult and not worry about child needs. And I was able to go, oh, I do that. this then works for me at home because this is how I focus and this is what I do. And I started to put all of the things together. And I was like, oh, this would be a fantastic training course. But the sensory needs of a neurodivergent person, Disney is built for us. So every sensory need, all of our senses are taken care of in Disney World. And we're going to show you how to use that to help a neurodivergent person decrease their overwhelm, increase their focus, eat. You know how us neurodivergent people have disordered eating? Disney science will help you eat on a regular schedule, drink water on a regular schedule.
And we struggle with that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. It will help you also learn to accept help. Disney is one of the perfect areas to learn how to accept help and how to adapt things to your life as you need them. So that's just one of the things we're going to teach. Now, I'm going to let Vida talk about Zentangle and the process of Zentangle. We have a Zentangle certified instructor that's going to be part of it, which means because it's certified instructor, that means that you could take everything you learn and take it back and teach it to your students, your clients, whoever you need.
Yeah. So my husband is a neurodivergent person himself. He is an art teacher. He has over 15 years of experience, and he has been a certified Zentangle instructor for maybe 12, somewhere in there, a while. And he is going to come and teach us. Zentangle is basically the art of doodling, but it is finding that Zen state, that flow state that we're always trying to get to. And it was a husband and wife started this. She was a calligrapher and he was really into meditation and mindfulness. And he would come in and try to talk to her while she was doing her calligraphy stuff, and she wouldn't hear him because she was in her flow state. And so they were like, wow, this is really amazing. We should package it to people for, mindset. And they started doing that. And it teaches you multiple things. One, every single person can be an artist. Two, there's no such thing as mistakes, which for a lot of us that are neurodivergent, we struggle with that anxiety level so bad. So it's teaching you to maybe embrace a task that you've never done before. We're taking away your ability to make mistakes with it. And then it's fun. It's like we gamify it. There's one of the things that you get taught, like you have a little multi-sided dice and you roll it and what design is number 4, and then you have to do that design on your paper, and it takes you through this process. It's a self-soothing coping skill that you can use yourself anytime you need it. You trot that out of your bag, you doodle, you do these things, you can do it literally anywhere. And when my husband teaches it to his high school students, other teachers will come, they're like, have you been teaching Zentangle this week? And he's like, yeah, why? And they'll hold up like a math paper or something, and it'll be all down the side of it because it's so appealing to your brain.
This is the first thing that we're going to teach you in Disney World because you're going to be able to utilize it if you are neurodivergent and joining us. This is something you're going to be able to use to help recenter yourself, get yourself out of overwhelm, calm yourself while we're in this crazy, chaotic space and learning things. This will help you adapt and learn all of the things by being able to continue to use Zentangle the whole entire 4 days that we're there.
Or reinforce it too as you go through. Like maybe we'll meet up in the evenings and we'll have a little Zentangle jam session. For those of you that aren't into it, you can color, you can listen to music, you can do whatever. But as a way to help people transition from the energy of the park back into, like, we'll let some of that go.
Vida is very much looking forward to teaching me this, I think, so that she has a way to calm me down when needed. I'm going to teach you how to have a Rockstar mindset with meditation, like together, because when you're neurodivergent, sometimes Zentangle is not going to be the calming thing that you need it because you need something more immersive and interactive. And I have a process that I use with my clients that I've been using like 20 years now that teaches them how to do some things that rock stars do. And I do this because my husband and I are rock stars, used to be on the road, used to do all of this stuff. And there are some meditation practices that work in the middle of extreme chaos that is multisensory that actually brings down your sensory overwhelm, believe it or not. By piling on more sensory stuff, you can decrease your sensory overwhelm. So I'm going to teach you that. And that's one of the other first things that we're going to teach you because that is necessary. And I used this a million times while I was in Disney World at Christmas. Don't do that to yourself. Take my word for it. We're also going to teach you how to build habit skills. We have a custom framework that Vida. So I had a question for Vida. We've all heard of 75 hard. If you haven't heard of 75 hard, go look it up. Not going to explain it here. It is a very toxic bro level of toxic mindset stuff. When you're neurotypical, you can handle that kind of thing. But when you're neurodivergent, you can't. So I said to Vida, after a client who was really frustrated with his team at work doing the 75 hard thing, I'm like, we have to build something better. There's got to be a better way to do this and like very easy and break it down. And here's what I'm thinking. And I gave her kind of an outline. And 2 hours later, Vida had designed a whole entire custom framework for this. And then we got together the next
Tuesday.
Yeah, it was just Tuesday. We'll have to tell you about our current Tuesday. And 1 hour the next morning, we finished designing and putting all the pieces together from the stuff that I know from my classes. And Vida, as a teacher behavioral modification specialist, we combined all of our skills, my therapy and psychology, with her teaching, created a custom framework, and the people that are taking it are loving it. And it's something that therapists and teachers really, really need this process in their hands to do this. And we want to start teaching it to people so that it can spread. This is not something we're trying to make a ton of money on. We're just trying to get this in people's hands so that they teach it to their clients. And then we're going to teach you how to overcome overwhelm and burnout. Part of that's using, that is, it's really hard, especially as adults. If you're a neurodivergent adult or God bless you, a neurotypical working with neurodivergent adults, burnout is a real thing. And I think burnout for anyone these days, even if you're not neurodivergent, is a real problem that we deal with. And there are some skills that are needed to teach us how to keep ourselves from burning out. Because when we burn out, we get super sick. All the things fall apart. Life falls apart. It can become this horrible, tragic cycle that just snowballs. We want to teach you how to overcome that and decrease that while you're in the middle of it. Because before you get to it, you don't even realize you're getting there. You're already in the middle of it before you even realize.
Yeah, I saw a thing today. It was like autistic meltdown or burnout for neurodivergent people is like the iceberg. So this up here is what people see, like the one thing that just was straw that broke the camel's back, and then they burn out. But what they don't see is all of these things below the water, like having trouble regulating your temperature, like have you had enough sleep? Are you properly hydrated? There's so many baseline functions that are probably out of whack and have been for some time before a person just has a breakdown or a meltdown or a burnout, whatever we're doing at that point in time. Like there's lots of things. It's not one thing. We are sensitive to our environment, but we are not that fragile. Like it takes multiple things to make it because we are used to, I guess, suffering through it is really the best.
We're used to sucking it up. I mean, especially as neurodivergents, everything is overwhelming. So you just eventually learn that you have to suck it up. But eventually that suck it up is not decreases and the vacuum doesn't work anymore. And we can't keep operating in that vacuum of sucking it up, because eventually we're clogged and we need to unclog ourselves. And we're going to teach you how to overcome overwhelm when you're already in it. Because again, we don't recognize it before we're too deep to get out of it.
Well, and I think too, it's like the perfect place to practice this is at Disney because it is, yes, an overwhelming environment. It's lots of fun, but anything you try at Disney, the failure rate should be low because you're in a place that's super free of judgment and shame. Like if you get excited and have flappy hands at Disney, no one is going to bat an eye. If you're trying to do something like, okay, if you're there all day and you like to people watch like I do, you will see so many things play out. So many things. Generally, the people that are struggling are not the people that work there, but they have lots of coping things in place for them. It's so that they can help you cope as well.
So we've got that, which is so important. And then we're going to do neurodivergent play therapy and fun inside the park. Every single thing that we teach you, including this next item that's next on the list, is going to all be re-established. That's not the word I'm looking for. We're going reapplied. We're going to apply every single thing that we're teaching you through play and fun in Disney World. Because when you do things with play, it sticks better.
Yes, it does. 100%. It does. There's tons of studies for those of you that really want to get nerdy and deep dive. There's tons of studies that show that learning through play cements it more in your brain because you're using multiple senses to utilize this skill. You're applying it over and over. Think about like, I don't know, some people have different opinions about chess, but I was in 3rd grade and I had a friend that taught me how to play chess on a rainy day recess. And we're talking talking people learn how to play chess. Like sometimes it takes a long time, but somebody was teaching me. It was fun. There was no like shame. There was no judgment. And I picked it up really quickly. My son fought and fought and fought me on learning how to tie his shoes. A kid in kindergarten taught him how to do it in 5 minutes.
My son, who is very neurodivergent, he is autistic, couldn't teach him to put on his own coat and zip his own coat. He could never get it on right, not the right direction, upside down, backwards, all kinds of stuff. And it's a coat. Come on, kid. This is only one way to put this on. This can't be this hard. Could not get it. Couldn't get it. This little kid told him how to do a tumble and put a coat on in the middle of a somersault. And he learned how to put his coat on. 2 seconds in kindergarten.
Yeah. And I think too, it's the teacher, like their peers, they're teaching it, but they're teaching them through play. They're teaching them through these different things that adults are like, hey, why can't you do this? Which it's like the neurodivergent experience, like our whole lives. So we're going to teach you these things through play. We are going to get you to play. That is going to be one of the things that we absolutely get you to do.
We're going to have scavenger hunts. We're going to have Disney bounding. We're going to have contests. There are things you're going to win. We are going to make this as fun as possible and neurodivergent friendly as possible. We've also hired a PhD level person to take care of everyone attending on this trip. She is there to help you create an accommodation for yourself in a situation that you're overcome with or over struggling with, help you find a quiet space if that's what you need, help you navigate the park because you're lost and have no sense of direction. We're going to all have air tags on us, the coaching team. And my husband was joking with me. He's like, yeah, they need to put the air tag on you just so they can find you when you've gotten lost. Once again, I get so lost in my head then following whatever trail I was on that I forget where I am and I can't figure out how to get home. GPS is my life. But all of these things, we've got people to take care of you. Every need is taken into consideration if you are neurodivergent. If you're not neurodivergent, every need to show you how to take into consideration those you work with is taken care of. And then through all of this, and this is probably one of the last things that we're going to teach you in Disney, is teach you how to create a dopamine map and a self-care map based on everything that you've learned throughout the 3 days in Disney. We're going to teach you to recreate some of those things, that Disney science piece that we're teaching you. We're going to teach you how to recreate it at home and create the dopamine you need in daily life, or teach your clients how to create dopamine on demand. Being able to create healthy dopamine, because there is non-healthy options for dopamine. TikTok.
Yes.
This is where food, TikTok, drugs. We tend to self-medicate, and dopamine is a form of self-medication. But when you can drip in your dopamine throughout your day, it doesn't become a sensory seeking need. It becomes a management need. And that's what we want to teach you to do, is teach you how to teach your clients, teach you as a neurodivergent, how to map your own dopamine and understand the science of Disney. How did that work? What was great for you? What was terrible for you? What made you like really relax? And what do you remember? What were your aha moments? And what things do you remember? What were you doing because you remember that? What were you doing in that moment? And create self-care through all of that, because dopamine is a huge part of our self-care needs.
There'll even be a few pop-up classes for anyone that wants to attend. We'll be talking about sex and intimacy and creating those menus even in the bedroom. So we'll be able to, lead you through that. I have a comedy sex podcast. We talk a lot about sex and sex positive education. We've both put in our proposals to speak at conferences this year and on all of these topics. So if you want, while you're there and something comes up as a need for the group, like, hey, can you teach a pop-up class on this? Danielle and I are very well versed at teaching things on the fly, but we do have a couple tricks in our bag, and one is the intimacy class.
And the other one is I have an executive dysfunction, how to overcome executive dysfunction day to day. I have a class that I can teach on that and have all of the things. And I'm actually teaching this at a very, very high level conference here in May. I want to say this month, but it's not May yet. I want it to be May so bad because I can't wait for this conference. I get to speak with Dr. Hollywell that wrote ADHD 2.0 and Driven to Distraction. So when I say a high level conference, this is the ultimate ADHD disruptive conference. And that's what it's called, is ADHD Disrupt. But anything that you want to learn. Hey, I have a client who is dealing with XYZ. Can you give me some strategies how to deal with that? we're going to have those air tags on us for a reason. Please, please do. I want people, and especially our providers, our service provider people that work with ND people, to have unlimited access to us. You might have to ride a ride with me while we have a talk, but we can absolutely talk. But we will absolutely sit for hours. I will sit for hours, info dump anything you need on you, because I want this information to be so much more accessible than it is.
Absolutely. And between now and then, because the Disney trip is in September, you can guarantee that we are going to continue to deep dive, because this is on our horizon. These are things for us. And, I was teasing Danielle. I was like, time is weebly wobbly, like Doctor Who says. And so September for us is tomorrow, basically. So
yes,
we're going to continue to deep dive. We're going to continue to detail and craft this trip and make it as special as we can, because we really believe in the message of the neurodopamine adventure quest. And like, it's in the title. We are all of those things. Like, we couldn't settle on one word, so we invented.
We had to make up our own. We just had to create our own. And we have, as part of this package, anytime you purchase, you get a whole entire year of Vida's and my support. So are you a therapist and want to pick the brain of somebody who's a successful neurodivergent adult, at least most of the time, and who works with ADHD adults and ADHD adults all of the time? This is what I do full time, 80 hours a week. I work with neurodivergent adults. That's what I do. Want to pick my brain? You have a whole entire year of support of coaching sessions and body doubling sessions with Vida and I to do that. And right now, those sessions are set up for people to body double and get the support they need. But if you want to just use them to pick our brains, go for it. Vida and I would be in heaven if people started asking us questions more often and actually listened, because that would be amazing.
Would be. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, people want to know the things that I know. Because that is the most priceless thing for any neurodivergent. Someone wants to hear about your hyper focus. Oh, how much time do you have?
Yeah. So Vida, tell everybody where your education comes from and why it's so important for something like this.
Yeah. So I was a public school teacher for over 15 years. And during that 15 years, I taught a high school and I coached sports. I became a special education teacher, and then I became a behavior modification specialist. And throughout all of that, I would go in and I would investigate kids that were behavior issues. But 9 times out of 10, they were undiagnosed neurodivergent kids, and we had to come up with behavior modification plans. We had to come up with IEPs. And then I utilized this in my own classroom as well. I taught for hybrid school. I've kind of done it all there. And my students were graduating, and guess what happens after high school? You're an adult and you don't have all the scaffolding. So I had students that were coming back to me like, hey, I really need help in college. Can you help me set up a schedule? I'm really struggling in my relationships. I don't know how to do the people thing, right? Like, can you help me? I cannot keep my house clean, or I cannot get to work on time. And so I kind of slid into coaching. It was just a need that my students had that grew. And eventually it outgrew the hours in the day that I had to teach and also coach. So I became a neurodivergent coach, and like all things, like, oh, I can also do social media, and I did this and I did that, because I didn't have to fit in a box anymore. I could do all of the things where I could help people. And like life takes us places, I have grown into the sex space, because I have a lot of clients that come and ask me questions about intimate relationships, regular relationships. Hey, I have sensory issues in the bedroom. Like, can you help me? And my behavior background is really paying dividends in all these areas.
So my background is I have my master's in business education. I also have, I have 4 degrees. Most of them are business based, but I got sick of my own brain getting in my own way. So I went back and got a degree in therapy. I am not a therapist. I did not finish because I hated the rules. When I went through the ethics class, I went, ew, no way. Nope. This will prevent me from teaching people what I want to teach them. So I went down the coaching route, and now I have 30 plus certifications, and I am a corporate level ADHD consultant, and I do ADHD consulting for startups and multiple startups now, and help them build programs that are beneficial to the neurodivergent brain. So that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. So I've been at this a long time. Vida's been at this a long time. We bring all of those things to this trip to teach you and help guide you with all of the things that you need to be neurodivergent, just less overwhelmed, or help neurodivergents get out of overwhelm.
Because we know what it feels like on the flip side of that coin.
We do. So if you have questions, if you have anything, if you need anything, please let us know. We're happy to answer the questions before the trip. All of that. The trip is $2,800. It goes up to $150 every 30 days because it gets more expensive the closer we get for all of the pieces. And if you pay in full, there are discounts. So if you're going to be paying in full, there are discounts for that. And if you want to sell tickets to your friends, if you want to get 20 people together that are 20 friends and you want them all to come on this trip, let me know. We can also set you up as an affiliate, and you can win at least $100 per ticket sold. And if you sell 10 tickets, your ticket is 100% free. And we're also going to be doing drawings for one person that attends the trip with us will be getting 100% refund on the cost of their trip. Not travel. Travel is not included, but everything else once you're there, your food, your hotel in a Skyliner resort, a food for 4 days, pictures for 3 days, park hopper tickets, and all of the coaching, all of that is included. And a year of support of Vida and I, all thrown into all of that. So if you have questions, please ask. We're always happy to answer. Have an amazing day, everyone.